broadcast.
Good evening and happy Monday to all of you. This is President's Day, as a matter of fact, and so we want to wish you a happy Monday, happy President's Day. This is one half of the dynamic duo. Greg Jackson, Brother Love, is out on special assignment, but he has left all of Let's Talk Nation in excellent hands because she's gone from being one of our greatest listeners and one of our greatest contributors online, and she's been on the show online, but she's now in the studio sitting in her, is that gold or that yellow? What are we going to call that tonight?
Gold.
We're going to call it gold tonight. Sitting in her gold dress, none other than Miss Cheryl Walker. How you doing, Miss Cheryl Walker?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I know I have some big shoes to fill.
Well, no, I'm here.
Oh.
Yeah, Brother Love, his shoes ain't that big. I'm just kidding because he might be listening. But also we got Doc Polite, who is always flying wingman, is our executive producer. We got Brother Armando in the booth tonight. And we want to welcome everyone because tonight we're going to be having some different conversations because we've got some different energy in the room. But as I said, Brother Love is on special assignment. I know that he is checking us out. So, Miss Walker, why don't you let the folks know who you are, how you got to us tonight, and what you plan on doing tonight with us?
Oh, wow. I am Cheryl Walker. I am a returning Orange County resident, and I've been in the Central Florida area a long time. Mr. Love and I are long-term friends, as well as Doc Polite, and so the pressure is on.
No, I'm not going to even do that. Let you do that to yourself.
But I am so honored to be asked to sit in. It's really a great thing that you guys.
So now, a returning Orange County resident, returning from where?
Seminole. I just love it.
Oh, you just went down the street.
I love Seminole County. No shade.
Brother Armando, I thought she was going to tell us about all her travels to the exotic Republic of California, or to the non-democratic state of New York. But she told us she went down to Seminole, right down the road.
I do travel, but not to live. It's a weather thing. I'm a long time transplant.
Listen,
I can't do the snow anymore.
Why would you want to be in any other state other than the state of Florida? And I listen, I tell people this all the time. I defy you to name me a state that is as great as the state of Florida from any perspective. Try me if you want to.
We have weather.
And this no income tax, no state income tax.
We have beaches.
We have some of the greatest companies. We have one of the happiest places on earth, if not the happiest place on earth, which is Disney World. We have the Space Coast here. We have everything you need right here in the state of Florida, not to mention great people right here in the state of Florida.
Right here in the studio, right here.
Listen, that's right. We're fantastic representatives of what we have going on here in the state of Florida. But we're also fantastic representatives of what's going on and what's taking place. And we're going to have some great conversation tonight, Ms. Walker. But just let folks know, if you want to be a part of tonight's conversation, all you have to do is hit 407-894-1680. Again, to be a part of the conversation with one half of the dynamic duo, Greg Jackson, Brother Love is on special assignment, and our special guest host, Ms. Cheryl Walker. All you got to do is hit that dial, 407-894-1680. Ms. Walker, let's get it on. Let's talk. We were talking a little bit about this, and you were schooling me on some stuff also. But Republicans are starting to line up to see who is going to be testing Joe Biden here in this upcoming election. And interestingly enough, although there has been a lot of buzz around people who are going to jump in, and in particular our governor here in the state of Florida, the great state of Florida, one candidate actually stepped out there last Thursday in the form of Nikki Haley. What do we know about that?
Well, what we do know is she's created a buzz, if you will. We do know that she has been a proponent of the prior administration. So I feel like there may be a little bit of groundswell that starts to take place as her presence becomes more gets more groundswell.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see how many other folks will begin to jump in on the GOP side. Them seem to be a little quiet.
Well, this is what I found interesting. Donald Trump has shown that if anyone dares to test him and dares to even be mentioned or considered as a person that may be jumping into the race, he immediately attacks him. And we talked about this last week, and I believe you had made some comments also. But, in my perspective, Donald Trump is the most divisive individual in American politics right now. And I'm because you listen to the show, you see me go back and forth with people. I've said, listen, I like some of his policies and this, that, and another. But as I'm watching him in action, I'm seeing Donald Trump as one of the most divisive figures in American politics today. And not only is he divisive, and when I say politics, I mean not only is he divisive as it relates to separating Republicans from Democrats, but he's also divisive from the standpoint of separating Republicans from Republicans.
Correct. I think class would be dismissed if we didn't include our own governor, whom he has decided to focus all of his immediate attention on. He's certainly not a DeSantis fan at the moment. And so I think the alignment within the GOP party, the lines will begin to be drawn in the sand as more candidates kind of slowly show that they're showing their interest. I know Pence has kind of talked around whether or not he will make a formal bid again. And so it's going to be interesting to see, DeSantis danced around it during this last election, if he would stay in governorship or bail out in order to make his run. So interesting.
Yeah, no doubt. But here's the other thing too, what makes this even more interesting is Nikki Haley comes out, and as you said, she was entrenched in the former administration with the Trump administration. She is the former governor of South Carolina, first and foremost. So in her own right, she does have executive experience. So it kind of makes sense. It's a small state, but it kind of makes sense. Jimmy Carter, who is the one of the former presidents, and we'll talk a little bit more about him. He came from Georgia as a governor, it's a small state. Bill Clinton, former governor of Arkansas, he stepped in. George Bush was former governor of Texas. Then you have Ronald Reagan, former governor of California. So it's not unusual for governors, individuals who have executive experience to, want to vie for the seat.
Right.
But, you don't hear a whole lot about South Carolina, which makes this interesting. But the other part that makes it interesting, and this is what we're talking about, is that, Trump has made it known that if you step into the ring or even stand to the side of the ring, that he's going to pounce. He's the guy that's going to attack before you even, it's like back in the old days. And I see Brother Shaw stepped in. Brother Shaw, I don't know if you remember the old days of wrestling with Chief Wahoo McDaniels, with Tony Atlas, with Ernie the Cat Ladd, with Dusty Rhodes, and Mr. Wrestling number 1, Mr. Wrestling number 2, Jimmy the Dragon Steamboat. And the reason why I mention these guys is because back in the day, Brother Shaw, if they were standing in the middle of the ring, you got ready to step in the ring, they'll jump on you before you even get in the ring, and you couldn't get in the ring. And that's how Trump is. Listen, you try to get in the ring, he kick you in your face, you can't even get in the ring with him.
He definitely has a scorched the earth
mentality. Get this. Nikki Haley has stepped in the ring and Trump hasn't said a word. He hasn't said a word.
I don't know if he's taken it seriously, or he could take the other position and be mad that she didn't.
Listen, if he was mad, we'll know
it. Him.
If he was mad, we'll.
Well, actually,
he pulls no punches. What'd you say, Doc?
Actually, Trump sent her congratulations.
Which is crazy. That's crazy.
She is the only one he has not attacked. Don't forget now, you got Tim Scott getting ready to jump in this thing.
Oh, that's true. I did see some promo of
that. He possibly can ding Nikki Haley, and many of the the political pundits say that, and the polls as well show that if Nikki Haley gets in, DeSantis loses to Trump.
Wow.
So you think that this is the old bait and switch where you put in another person to take votes from the next highest vote getter to make sure that he doesn't get in and she doesn't get in, to ensure that you get in?
It could be, and that may be why he didn't attack her. Because think about Nikki Haley. She has been, I wouldn't say polarizing. She has actually repulsed many people, especially who are not Republicans. They just don't like her. And this is common when she was governor of South Carolina. So, before she became, I think she was UN ambassador.
Yeah, under Trump. Yeah,
right?
Trump appointed to that position.
So she had her own detractors then within the Republican Party. So I don't think she has that real star power to actually become president. Maybe vice president. Maybe that's their deal. That she gets in, she runs, weakens DeSantis, and then when it all shakes out, she's Trump number 2.
And that was my thought process.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she is actually interviewing for vice president right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that, I mean, we saw it with the Democrats who were lining up to run this last election cycle. No one thought that Joe Biden was going to get in, but I called it back in September 2019. Go back and check my page. Go back and check. I called it. I tried to tell y'all weren't listening to me, but that's a whole other story. But everyone else, whether it was Klobuchar, I think that Elizabeth Warren legitimately thought that she had a chance. I think that Bernie Sanders legitimately thought that he had a chance. I don't believe Kamala Harris thought she had a chance. I honestly and truly don't think she did. I don't think Cory Booker thought that he had a chance. I think that they were there on that stage along with some other folks interviewing for vice president.
And possibly corralling votes.
Exactly. And what they wanted to do is they want to show the party and the person that they think will be the eventual winner, hey, look at me, I can raise money, I can draw voters, and I can bring something to your ticket that's going to help you to be successful.
Right.
And so I think that Nikki Haley, who has, for the most part been a strong Trump supporter, has positioned herself to where if Donald Trump, if he becomes the inevitable candidate, will be his running mate. And then you're going to have something historical. And it's the same type of thing when Sarah Palin jumped on the ticket with John McCain. And one of the things about that historic race was this: you had the decision between electing the first African-American to the presidency or electing the first female as vice president. And it was and most folks didn't look at it that way, but that race between John McCain and Barack Obama was a historic election in and of itself, because you had an African-American male who was a legitimate candidate for president, and Sarah Palin, who was then the governor of Arkansas, as a legitimate vice presidential candidate with John McCain, who was a powerhouse in his own right. That would have been, either way, it was historic. Either way, that was historic. True. Now you have history versus history, because now you have Joe Biden, assuming that Kamala Harris survives, because there's a lot of talk about Kamala Harris not surviving to be tapped as his running mate again. And I don't know about that. And then you have another female vice president.
What he wants to do
either. He said it, but don't nobody believe him. I'd heard him say it. He just said it a whole bunch of times, but I don't know if I believe him.
I don't know that.
You look excited. You want Joe Biden to be president again. I see it. I see it in your eyes.
I don't know that he has the stamina. I mean, will he have the stamina to do it again? Because, listen, on the GOP side, the infighting is going to begin as soon as the gauntlet is thrown.
Yep.
And the stumping begins. It's going to be an all-out dogfight, and that's just on the GOP side. Let alone what they bring when they start going against the Dems. So.
Yeah. I mean, because remember now, Trump in the race.
A Royal Rumble is underway.
That's what it is. It's going to be the Royal Rumble. That's right. Because remember, you cannot forget 2016, 2017, going into the 2018 election.
Yeah.
Donald Trump standing up there with, I want to say it was 11 or 12 other Republicans, picking them off one by one. And I still say, and listen, people can check my prognostication. And I will tell y'all that when I saw Donald Trump on the stage, and I believe he was standing front and center at that time, with Ted Cruz, a longtime senator out of Texas.
Right.
Marco Rubio, the senator from the state of Florida, Hispanic, well-liked and all of that other stuff. Jeb Bush,
Right.
the former governor of the state of Florida, well-liked, did some great things. And Donald Trump went through each and every one of them. He called Marco Rubio Little Marco. But he did something that night, Ms. Walker. And I said, this dude is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And he was standing right next to one of the powerhouses in politics in Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush, his family was well established in politics because remember, his dad was president, his brother had been president, he was governor, his brother had been governor. That is a powerhouse in politics. He was the biggest name in politics on that night. And Jeb Bush turns to Donald Trump, and Jeb Bush tells Donald Trump, "You've said a lot of things," and I'm paraphrasing here, but I want y'all to go back and check. He went back and he said, "You've said a lot of things about Hispanic people that are offensive to my wife. And I want you to look out there now, and I want you to apologize to my wife." And Donald Trump looked him square in his eyes and said, "I ain't going to do it." And he didn't do it.
I remember that night.
And at that moment, when Jeb Bush didn't slap Donald Trump in his mouth like Will Smith did Chris Rock, that's the night. That's the night we should have seen some violence on stage. We should have seen Jeb Bush slap Donald Trump like Chris Rock got slapped. Yeah, or
Ted Cruz should have stood up for himself.
Slapped him in his mouth.
When he went after him for saying he didn't even speak his own native language.
Yeah. And that night when none of them could or would challenge him, I said right then and there, this guy is going to be a problem. He's going to be hard to deal with. So,
much to our later chagrin.
Listen, we can talk Donald Trump all night, but I don't want to do that to folks. We're going to talk about some other stuff though. But yeah, Nikki Haley has announced, and so we're going to be sitting back and watching. We don't know who else is going to jump in this race. You did mention, Mike Pence. I am. I'm a Democrat, but personally, I am a fan of Mike Pence because I think that he brings a certain level of moderacy on both sides of the table. I really and truly don't want Joe Biden to run for president again, and I didn't want him to run this time, and I didn't want him to win, but I figured that he would. I think that there's some very talented people on the Democrat side that can step up and that can be very effective as president in this country, one of which I thought was Cory Booker, and I will continue to say that.
Yeah.
One of which I thought was Cory Booker. He's very talented, but now Hakeem Jeffries.
I love Hakeem Jeffries. That would be my favorite.
Listen, I'm here to tell you. I mean, it's some very talented people on the Democratic side. But listen, I think we have a call on the line who thinks that they're going to run for president next. Call, you're on the line with Miss Walker, Greg Jackson, one half of the Dynamic Duo. Brother Love is somewhere sitting in the sun being lazy. Who am I talking to, caller?
Hey, boy, I tell you.
Oh, my bad, man. How you doing, brother?
Hey, man. Hey, I'm here at Phyllis Wheatley Elementary School, and I'm with some individuals. We're here tonight talking about the level of school violence. And can you introduce yourself?
Hi, good evening. I am Dr. Gigi Palmer. I'm a fifth grade interventionist right here at Phyllis Wheatley Elementary.
I know you, Miss Palmer. How you doing this evening?
Good evening. This is Jackie Alexander with Keeping Up Apopka Suspension Site.
Hi, Jackie.
Identify yourself. You're on air. Identify yourself.
Oh, hello. I am Bishop Kelvin L. Cabarrus.
Oh, Bishop Cabarrus. How you
Bishop.
doing? Long time no talk to, man.
Today I am Pastor Beverly Brown.
All right, Pastor Brown.
Hey, I do hear Miss Shirley and Greg Jackson, man. You know, nobody does it better than yourself. But tonight we were here at the community talking about the level of youth violence in schools. And man, I tell you, I'm really amazed that I don't know how many people do y'all think we had on the panel? About 50 people on the panel, and we had just as large of an audience. But the bottom line is everybody had something to contribute to it. And I'm gonna just do a round robin. I know. And Miss Cheryl, how you doing this evening?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Hey! Before you do a round robin, hold on now. Hold on, brother. Hold on. Hey, hold on before you do a round robin. Hold on. Brother Love.
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, put Bishop Cabarrus on the phone for me, please.
Bishop Cabarrus. They're calling you on there.
Hello.
Bishop Cabarrus, how you doing, man? Long time no talk to.
I'm doing well. Thank you all for having us on for a moment tonight. It was awesome. I think that there were great ideas, and as all of you know, we have all been on panels, task force, having the same conversation. I think that one of the immediate solutions to resolve this issue is what we said tonight. We love more, and we love more by building relationships, because if you're ever going to help any of these young people that have challenges, you got to know who they are. And to know who they are, you've got to be intentional about reaching them where they are, so that we can get the resources and whatever they need to help support lifting them up.
Absolutely. Now, listen, this is very and vitally important, because, and the reason why I asked for you specifically, Bishop Cabarrus, is because just today, Ms. Walker and I were talking about, in the past 3 days, there have been 10 mass shootings across this country in the past 3 days, a number of which were involving our youth. How important is it to, and I think you said about it, but I want to reiterate this point. How important is it for us to reach back and touch our youth, to pull them away from what's taking place on the streets right now?
Okay, man, I'm going to moderate this. I'm going to put Dr. Gigi on here because, Bishop Cabarrus will take us, but I don't want him to go anywhere. Oh, your turn. Okay, Ms. Brown.
We have offered resources to Orange County Public Schools since 1999.
That's not Dr. Gigi. That's
This is Pastor Beverly Brown, or Beverly Brown, Executive Director of a community nonprofit that we offer suspension services in 2 sites, Orange County Public School, students K through 12. And today we sit with empty centers wondering, where are the children? They're in the streets, and we are trying to get them back.
Let people know the location of the site.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have 2 sites, one at 109 Washington Avenue in Edenville, located at Redeeming Light Center Church, and another one at the Wells Activity Center at Patmos Chapel, 110 Athletic Road, Apopka, Florida, 32703.
And Greg, I want to pass the mic, if you would, to Miss Alexander. Identify yourself and tell folks what you got going on.
Hi, good evening. This is Jackie Alexander from Keeping Up Apopka Community Services, the suspension site here in Apopka. We offer services for students to hang out with us, to be on one accord, to get mentored, get credit for their attendance as well as their academics, and they also get counseling in the same day.
And Greg, I guess I'm saving the best for last over here, and that's no pun to anybody else, but identify yourself and tell people what you thought about this evening and the contributions that were made.
Well, good evening. I am Apostle Dr. Gigi Palmer, and I happen to be a 5th grade teacher here at Phyllis Wheatley Elementary. Tonight was phenomenal. We need to have more of these, and we need to generate them within the faith-based community. One of the things that we have to realize is that this is a governmental system. And being faith-based, we have to come out of the system that has us locked and the necessary needs for our children locked in as well. So we've got to come out of that system that's only going to give us limited resources, limited funds, limited money, and be able to move quickly and expeditiously to what our children actually need. So you heard from Pastor Beverly Brown about her suspension services, but guess what? A lot of parents in our communities don't know about those services. So when children are being suspended from school, they send them home instead of sending them to this program. And we need to let our parents know that these programs are available. Not only is the suspension program available, however, they go there. There are parenting services available as well. There are mentoring programs available at these sites as well. And we just got to get parents aware.
Hey, Greg, y'all know what we say about giving the mic to a politician or a preacher.
I know.
But here's what I want to do, though. In summary, Bishop Cabarrus brought up a very interesting point, and that is we got to figure a way that we get the information out. You're hearing about 2 alternative education or suspension sites that they're sitting almost vacant.
Yeah.
There's resources out there. We got to get away from thinking PSAs are going to get the information out, because those PSAs go up at 2:00 in the morning. We got to get away from the earned media, because what is being shown is the violence in the schools, but we're going to have to figure out who's going to pay for the paid marketing of all the good things that's taking place. Bishop, I want you, if you would, to kind of close us out, because this radio time is expensive.
Exactly.
Let me just go right back to Greg's question about all of the violent shootings that have happened over the last few days. I think collectively we've got to take what we've heard tonight in this little circle after the meeting about embracing the resources and marketing them properly to our community and leading this village concept that allows people to know that they're not in this alone, but there are resources that can help their children or families that may be in crisis. Like we said, we got shootings all over the country, but I think collectively, and I think Apostle Gigi made a good point, that while we appreciate our government system, the church is a kingdom system, and the kingdom functions different from the system of the government, which means that we need to work collectively and compile our resources to serve our communities. I believe we can turn this thing around.
Outstanding. That is great information, and we appreciate that. Brother Love, what else you got for us tonight?
Hey, man, I'm going to let y'all go ahead because, hey, Miss Cheryl's doing an excellent job. We got a chance to check y'all out. But, hey, once again, since Bishop Cabarrus and we have the pastors here with us, great, we got to figure out what show we're going to do to highlight what the faith community can bring to the table so that we don't have underutilized resources, so that we can eliminate, if possible, the level of violence that's taking place in school. So, Brother Jackson, Miss Cheryl, y'all keep doing what y'all doing, but we got to continue to get the word out that we can.
Outstanding. Yeah, outstandanding. Appreciate you, Brother Love, man.
That's
Hey,
great
we'll see you.
information.
We'll see you back in the
Y'all
studio
take care.
next week,
Keep up the
man.
good work.
All right, man. Appreciate it, bro.
Take care. Bye-bye.
So, Ms. Walker, that kind of helps us to segue into something that we were talking about also. You know, that was a great call. That was Brother Love. Once again, he is out at a forum or at a roundtable over at Phyllis Wheatley. And they're talking about, you know, violence in the community, violence in the schools, violence involving our young people. And we were talking about the fact that in just the past 3 days, there have been 10 mass shootings.
Wow.
With, you know, I want to say over 50 people who have been shot or who have been affected by gun violence over just a 3-day period. And just to give folks an indication, I mean, and these are just 5 of the places. You had 9 children shot in Georgia.
Right.
You had 6 people shot in Mississippi, 11 people shot in Memphis, Tennessee, 5 people shot in New Orleans, and 6 people shot in Chicago. And that's just 5 of them. How do we grasp and wrap our minds around what's taking place right now? Is this just where the world is taking us, or is it a breakdown somewhere that we can point to and say we need to focus on that?
I feel like we say this every year.
Mm.
You know, pre-COVID, the furor was more impassioned about, you know, talking about gun violence and trying to tackle the NRA and all those types of things. And then the pandemic happened, and the momentum seemed to lose some panache.
Mm-hmm.
And then right as soon as I don't even think we were a couple of months out where people felt comfortable enough to go out, we had a shooting.
Yeah. Wasn't
it out in like California? We had a shooting, literally, pandemic going into endemic.
Yeah.
I feel as though there's been a lot of talk, but not a lot of what's next steps.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you know, take Chicago, for instance, where it's almost daily.
Yeah.
Even the businesses along Michigan Avenue that, you know, one time Oprah used to have her offices there. You know, now you find that they're just randomly shooting up hotel glass fronts. Some of the businesses like Louis Vuitton and those are looking to not even have their doors open because they just don't want to risk, well, one, having the reputational risk
Mm-hmm.
that they stayed open. But then 2, the business has to be sacrificed because they don't know, you know, if they're going to be next.
So now let me ask you this now, because something that has changed that I see is that there's been a call to defund police. Police officers have been under attack. And so a lot of police officers aren't patrolling the way that they used to. And I mean, you know, when you have the cases like George Floyd, you know, the other cases we have where police officers have gone rogue, and that's
Right.
the 1% of 1 or 2% that we talk about. But do you think that the increase in violence has any correlation to the fact that police officers are pulling back on being more visible or being more enforcement based in our communities or in the community, not just ours, but in communities?
I think that's part of it.
Mhm.
I also think that it's the accessibility, especially with assault weapons, because is it not the most prevalent weapon that's being used when you're having, especially in the school? I know this latest shooter had.
Up in Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was something else I was seeing where someone was trying to get into a concert with the AR-15 and 163 rounds, which, listen, I have my fair share of tools. That's what I call it. I have my fair share of tools, but I have them for a certain reason.
Right.
But I mean, I believe you're right that there are a lot of folks out there, and I'm gonna tell you what scares me to death, Ms. Sherrill. The thing that scares me to death is that right now, here in the state of Florida, they're considering doing constitutional carry.
Right.
And I have no issues. I understand and I fully support the Second Amendment. But the thing about here in the state of Florida and getting your concealed weapons license is that you have to go through some bit of training.
Right.
And if you weren't former military or something like that, you have to go to a gun safety class. You have to show that you are at least proficient, even from a rudimentary sense, with firearms. But now they're saying that, just anyone, who is a citizen or whatever can just walk in and get a gun, which, like I said, I understand and I support the Second Amendment, but I think that there has to be some safeguards when you're allowing individuals, in addition to ensuring that people who have mental health issues are not allowed to just go out and get guns also, because that's what I think a large part of it too, because a lot of these folks, if we notice that are going out shooting people, have these aren't happy-go-lucky people that are doing this.
Exactly.
These are people that have some serious deep-rooted issues when you peel back the onion and the layers, that should not even have guns in their hands at all.
I find that most of the time when that topic gets brought up, there's always pushback about things being overly regulated.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, you have to get a driver's license,
That's
and
right.
you've got to test for that. You can't get married without a license.
That's right.
I think it should be par for the course.
I agree. And I'm going to tell you something else. In order to keep our kids safe, and I've been saying this a lot of years, and I know Brother Love has been saying it too, is I'm not opposed to having metal detectors in schools, and at least in the high school setting, because, I mean, you can't walk into a federal building with judges and things like that without going through or the airport. What is our most precious possession, or what is our most precious resource as a society? It's our young people. It's the youth that's coming up. And kids are going to school not feeling safe because someone could walk in and, just go crazy on them.
And in the case of Michigan, now you're talking a college campus where you have less control, because it's in effect a mini city unto itself. And so, I can remember when there was a shooting on the Florida State campus.
What was this?
That was back. Remember, the students were
I do remember that.
In the library.
Yeah, I remember that. That's right. I do. Yeah, that's right.
And having been on said campus, that would be a challenge. No disrespect. I mean, you have your on-campus law enforcement, but are they really equipped to deal with that type of menace?
Right.
On campus? And then, UCF alone is one of the largest campuses in the country. So I think there are some solutions that can be done. Certainly the waiting list for getting particular types of weapons, making them I don't even know if the licensure part is even difficult. I mean, how difficult is, you don't want to be punitive in dissuading certain people from having to, because, people like you and I, we have it for our home safety and whatever recreation, but certainly there needs to be something in tandem along with the license. It's a 3-day waiting period before someone.
Unless you have your concealed weapons permit. It's a 3. But here's the other thing too. If you go in and you get a shotgun or a rifle, I don't believe there is a waiting period.
And there we are.
Yeah, I don't believe there is. I'll have to double check that, but there's no waiting period for shotguns and rifles. And if anyone knows anything about firearms, pound for pound, shotguns are probably one of the most deadliest of firearms that you can get, because they have some tremendous capabilities. Dr. Polite, I knew I was going to get you on that one, man.
Yeah, there's no waiting period for shotguns and rifles, for long guns. And once you have your concealed carry and everything, there's no waiting period at all.
Yeah.
So so you can go in and purchase. And at gun shows still in Florida, you don't have to wait. From my understanding, I know they were. Well, I think with your concealed carry, there's no wait at the gun show.
That's what I thought you meant. Yeah, no, with the concealed carry, there's no wait. But if you don't have, you still have that wait period.
Yeah, you got to ship it. You got to send it to a gun shop, even when you're buying online, which I found out when I purchased my AR. You have to send it to a licensed arm dealer so you can pick it up, even when you have concealed carry and everything. So I agree with you about the shotgun and self-defense. You tried to talk me into getting one. I still have a perfect one. But as far as defensive, yeah, that's a good, especially in the urban, and coming in your house. So
yeah,
right. And I've taken the class. I took the class in 2019 before COVID. So, I mean, I found it to be helpful,
right,
as a novice. And so, the logical next steps is, okay, and I've done my practical. Now I need to go to the range and learn before I should be able to just go buy a weapon. But I know that's not how that works.
Right.
Right. Not how it works.
But that's what responsible gun ownership is about. And Doc, just going back to your point, just real quick, and Ms. Walker, I want people to understand this. My firearm of choice that sits or sleeps right next to the bed with me is a 18-inch pump 12 gauge.
All right.
and in my drawer, if you ain't careful, I got a judge and Doc Play. I don't think they hear me now. I got a judge.
Yeah,
I got the governor. I got the judge and the governor. If y'all know what I'm talking about, then you don't want to come play with me.
I shot the judge before, so I told you I'm a long gun fan. I do have pistols, and one of the things that kind of tripped my wife out when we first got married, I have a home defense strategy and an escape plan. And she was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I plan this stuff out. So if we're in any part of the house, there's got to be some way to get to a weapon or get to a safe spot where you can defend yourself." And most people don't think in that terms, but you should. You should familiarize yourself with a firearm. I don't care what people talk about. Hey, I'm scared of them, and I don't want to kill nobody. What they say, I'd rather be judged by 12 than
carried by 6.
Yep.
It's actually not what people think.
Yeah.
I mean, in the class, there was a Glock, that you have to, discharge the weapon in order to pass the class. And I actually thought, okay, this has created a little monster in me, but I didn't have that inherent fear of it. And, I'm born in Boston, in a city. So, but to Doc's point, I do think about, as a single woman, if someone came in my house, I'm thinking about how I'm going to get out of here. The most efficient way that I can, and either not give them a chance to find me or overtake me. My grandfather was, big on that. Make sure you have something to protect yourself, and then have a way to get out of the house if you must, as a last resort.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a great point. But listen, while and Miss Walker, you brought up a very interesting point. As a single female, in your home, you think about what happens if someone comes in and how do you protect yourself. Let's talk about this young lady that 23 years old over in Hillsborough County.
Wow.
And for those who haven't heard the story, she, we're talking about, just protecting yourself and just being self-aware and different things like that. But she was working out in the gym at her apartment complex. 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
And listen, I always, I have a 19-year-old daughter, and I always caution her about being out by herself. She's too trusting.
Yeah.
And this young lady, God bless her, but she saw a guy who was knocking on the door, looks like he was a resident or something, and she opens a locked door.
Right, bust him in.
To allow this guy to come in. She goes back to her workout, and what happens?
The video is so, it was really frightening.
Yeah. He
immediately began casing her and stalking her, and you see, it seems like minutes, but seconds of him chasing her around equipment. And then he finally literally just jumped on her and tackles her to the floor. And she fought and finally got him off of her and got him out of there. And she later in news clips, you see her saying that, she was just taught to stand and, stand her ground and fight, God forbid, but a would-be attacker or assailant. And it worked for her. I'm just glad he didn't have a weapon, or we may be having a different conversation.
But let's turn back to that here in a few moments. We have someone who wants to talk to us, Ms. Walker. Call you on live with Greg Jackson and Ms. Cheryl Walker, our special guest host tonight. Brother Love is out on special assignment. Let's talk about it. How you doing this evening?
Hello, caller.
Calling on live. How you doing this evening? All right. Apparently he wants to listen more than he wants to talk, which is fine with us. But here's the other thing too, Ms. Walker, that I was thinking about too. Thank goodness this dude wasn't bigger and stronger.
Right.
Because she thankfully, she worked out. She said, I knew I was stronger than him. My fear is that a lot of times, and I don't want folks to think that I am chauvinist and different things like that. I'm just a realist.
Right.
But I think that a lot of times women take for granted that because they work out, because they do certain things, that they are just as strong as a man.
Right.
In this case, I am pleased to death. Right. I am so happy that she was able to fight and to get this man off of her. I'm so glad that there was a videotape to show what was taking place so they can catch this piece of garbage.
Right.
And hopefully they put him somewhere where he needs to be for a long, long time. Because whenever you seek to violate anyone, and women especially, you deserve a special place in the jail.
Right. I wonder, it hasn't been said, but I'm curious to know what the complex is going to say in reference to what the protocol is for allowing someone in, because if he were truly a resident, he should have just been able to come in his own volition rather than waiting on her. And of course, she was probably just trying to be neighborly and just presuming that he was a resident of the property.
But listen, how many women go missing? I don't think that people really and truly understand the number of women who go missing on an annual or even a monthly basis, and especially here in the state of Florida.
And then the cases go cold.
Yeah, and remember now, Florida is third in terms of human trafficking in the whole wide country. And, if you see someone that comes to a door that you don't recognize, why would you open the door? I want this to be a teacher moment, Ms. Walker. I really want this to be a teacher moment. And as much as I am celebrating that this young lady is alive and kicking, I also want to point out the fact that she got lucky.
Right.
I don't want to brush past this and say that this young lady got lucky.
I find that the way he was trying to pin her down said to me that he's done this before.
Yeah.
I felt that very strongly, that, he immediately begins to go after her. So I feel like that's his MO.
Yeah.
And that all he's, is an opportunist, just looking for someone like her who let her guard down.
Yeah. So this is what we want to let folks know. And if you have, young people in your life, and because this could have easily have happened to a male also.
Right.
Just remind them that if you're in a locked location and you have to have access to that location, don't open the door.
Right.
If someone comes to that door and they don't have a key, there's a reason they don't have the key. And if they forgot it, listen, if they forgot it at the house, that should be a teachable moment for them of, hey, I should have kept it on me.
Right. Their risk manager and insurance company, had something happened,
Right.
would have that. I've been a claims adjuster. That's the first person I'm asking.
Yeah.
Question I'm asking. How did they gain access?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And unfortunately, being the lawyer that used to represent insurance companies, my argument is, as sad as it is, she let him in.
Right.
She let him in.
That's the hardcore facts.
Yeah. And so listen, that's the other thing too, is don't put yourself in situations where you're putting yourself at risk. I mean, that is something that I can't stress enough, because again, human trafficking, and particularly with females, is a very serious issue across the country, but particularly here in the state of Florida, California, New York, and I believe Texas are the top 4 states where this is occurring. And you cannot take these things for granted.
And who knows what could have been waiting for her once he got her, if his goal was to try to get her to the second point of crime, which is to remove her from the gym.
Right. Because more than likely, this may have been the type of guy that says, I'm not leaving a witness.
Right.
And the worst part, this may have been a piece of trash that says, I'm not leaving any witness. And guess what? I'm not going to stick around to face the consequences.
Right.
There are a lot of sick people in the world. And they could care less about your life. They could care less about my life. They could care less about anyone's life. And we cannot take the chance on allowing these types of things to happen. But right now, Ms. Walker, it seems as if we have someone that wants to talk to us. Call you on live with one half of the dynamic duo, Greg Jackson, our special guest host tonight, Michelle Walker. How you doing? Let's talk about it.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Hi, good evening.
My question is, was he a resident of that facility, that apartment complex?
We don't know.
Outstanding question, but we don't know that. I mean, the only information we have is that he came up to the door, saw her, she let him in. I don't even think the apartment complex is giving any indication if he was a resident or not.
I've not heard an update. Apparently, he either knocked or there's some type of buzzing or ringing that he did that got her attention, because she was working out.
Yeah.
And she went up. You see her on the video go to let him in, and she immediately turned and went back to what she was doing. And within moments,
he was attacking.
He was on her.
But so Carla, so tell me this: would it have made a difference in your mind if he was a resident or a non-resident?
I'm thinking he wasn't a resident.
Yeah.
Right.
But here's the other thing, though: resident or not, she didn't know him.
Right. She didn't know him.
She didn't know him.
I wouldn't open the door. I'd ask him where his pass was, but they give you a key pass. And where your pass at? I like where your pass at. I immediately got on my phone and I'd notified somebody, family member, neighbor, or even the police. Somebody's trying to get in, because I know they have a 24-hour hotline for residents like that. I know for sure, because I'm an Amazon driver and I have problems or issues getting into. I don't have an access code. I have to text the customer, to, hey, what's your access code to get in? So I even have problems trying to get in a residence like that. So I'm wondering, because we don't have an access code. We have to, if they're not there, the front desk is not there, the lobby person is not there, we have a problem getting into it. So a lot of people in that apartment complex don't get their package that day. They have to get it the next day and have to put in the customer notes that you need to leave an access code for us to get in to deliver your package if you want it at your front door. So she shouldn't open the door, period.
Yeah.
She shouldn't open the door, period. Whether he was a resident or not, she shouldn't have opened that door, period.
And the other thing too, and I don't know if Carl, if you said it or Ms. Walker just said it, but let's say she was being a good neighbor. The moment she let him in, she should have got on the phone and got on the phone with a family member or someone and say, and at least pretend like she was talking.
Yeah.
Or something, and then walked out.
Yeah. So, because it by all appearances, she was in there alone.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm sorry, I'm not letting you in. I mean, these are the types of crimes, coming from a large city that would happen in laundromats, because those are, places of opportunity where you're coming there at night. There's not going to be a lot of heavy foot traffic. Yeah. No one's around. It's not going to be well lit, because even though the video was in black and white, it looked as though it was fairly dark on the other side of the door.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't see because, the cameras.
But he said it was 10 o'clock
down,
at night, if I remember
at,
right.
It was at night. So.
And I'm like you, the way he pinned her down, he immediately pinned her down. I mean, he knew what he was doing.
Right.
He have done it before. As I can see, he have done that before to other women. Thank God that she wasn't in like a secluded area or an alley somewhere, because he would have maybe killed her.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. So Carla, how long have you been listening to the show? Let's talk about it.
I've been listening to the show since y'all been on.
Hey.
Well, listen, we always appreciate a dedicated listener, and I hope that we don't embarrass you at any time. So.
No, you don't. I thank you for that show anyway, because you talk about a lot of topics we need to hear here in Central Florida.
Well, we appreciate that. And again, we want to thank Ms. Walker for being here, because she's helping us to bring this topic to light. So we want to say, thank you for being out there, and thank you for listening to the show, and, call back and talk to us anytime. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So, let that be our PSA for the night, our public service announcement. And thanks to the caller for, calling in and adding some additional commentary to that. But, like I said, I mean, young ladies, just be cognizant of the fact that there are people out there who want to hurt you.
Right. We're in our phones. We have our heads down. Our earbuds are in, earphones in. You're not paying attention. You have to be aware all the time.
Yeah.
Getting into your car, as soon as you get in, you need to lock the door.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I do before I even get the key I'm locking the door.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, but listen, let's we've been talking about some shootings and all this other stuff. Let's talk about some happy stuff. I want to end up on a happy note. I don't want to go home and start drinking tequila tonight. I want to go home and have a nice night. So let's talk about
what you got.
Oh man, I don't know. This might not be such a good topic, because you hit me on something when we sat down. We're going to talk about All-Star Weekend.
All-Star Weekend.
So NBA, it was All-Star Weekend for NBA, and of course they had the 3-point shooting contest. They had the game, and then they had the slam dunk contest. Brother Armando, did you watch the slam dunk contest?
Yeah, I did, definitely.
Yeah, who won this year? I don't even know.
I don't know his name, but it was a guy that had a 2-day contract.
Was it the white gentleman?
Yes, it was.
Okay, I know
he killed it too, though.
Yeah. I saw some steals of one of the dunks he did, and I was like, that dude has some air. All I had to do was see the steals.
See, the thing is about him, he's been doing dunks like this since high school.
Really?
So he's been on the radar, of basketball players for maybe 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So he got his moment to shine, and he shined, man.
I'm gonna tell you, Miss Cheryl, I haven't really watched the slam dunk contest since D Brown. When he was playing for the Celtics. You remember that when D Brown came up and they had the little pumps in the shoes, and D Brown pumped up the shoes and went out there and took all the marbles. I was like, oh, done. I gotta watch another slam dunk contest. That's the last time I watched. So I had to ask people now, hey, who won that slam dunk contest? I hope I know the names, because I don't even watch it anymore. So, but we were also talking about some of the judges of the slam dunk contest, and did I say Charles Barkley? Was he one?
I believe so. There was conversation about Charles Barkley being on Karl Malone.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of where our segue is in reference to Mr. Malone.
Well, listen, like I said, we were talking Predators, so let's talk Predators.
I had to jump back in on this one.
Okay.
Because this is juicy. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Well, as our interwebs don't fail us, it was re-earthed that he had, at the age of 20, had a relationship with a young girl. I mean, she's 13, my goodness, barely out of her tween ages. And she got pregnant. They had a son whom he chose to ignore for 17 whole years. They met, and that's kind of where it ended. He had no involvement whatsoever. But the stir was, people were so incensed that he was asked to be a judge, knowing that he had that in his past, and that he should have not even been in consideration, let alone be asked to sit and be a judge.
You know, in this Me Too age, Dr. Polite, how did the NBA let something like that slip through the filters?
You know, that's on them. I certainly would not have had Karl Malone involved with anything with the NBA, because this has been known to the NBA for quite some time. This is not new news.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I do think that it has been talked about prosecuting him, and I'm not sure what state the molestation took place in.
It's from Oklahoma, though, isn't it?
He is.
I don't know.
Wouldn't it have been in California?
Oh wow!
It was where he was in college, apparently, from my understanding. And you know who his son is? Who the son is?
No,
he's an NFL player, Demetrius Bell.
Mm-hmm.
That's the son.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the son.
It just keeps.
I never knew that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, you know, I'm for everybody getting what they deserve, and his time will come. I just cannot see a 20-year-old involved with a 13-year-old, impregnating her, then denying it. Okay, had a blood test, proved that it was his. Then he said, "No, I ain't gonna take care of you." Guess how much the child support the girl was asking for was?
What?
$125 a week. And at the time, Karl Malone had signed with the NBA for $30 million.
Wow.
So in today's dollars. So
wow.
Yeah. So he's been a kind of a trash person even when he was in the league. This is
now remember, Doc, and I don't know if you remember this story, but apparently when he was on the Lakers with his teammate Kobe Bryant, he made a move on Vanessa Bryant
several times.
Yeah.
In some of the comments I read, or that they chose to publish, it was so lecherous. I really feel like the NFL, tone of that tacit allowance of
the NBA.
The tone of how the NFL promoted that same type of behavior.
I got you.
Because he's this huge NBA star, and then God forbid it's a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, these leagues, I won't say all of them in every instance, but many times when it's big stars, they tend to look the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And this is lecherous behavior that goes on college campus and those type of things in high schools. I remember I had to threaten a teacher when my daughter was in high school for inappropriate comments to her.
And you're saying that, and Nia Long just said she was involved at probably your daughter's age with a 30-year-old businessman.
I remember reading something like that.
A businessman that owned a hair salon, and he was from Oman. And what was so cringeworthy was she said that he had approached her mother in the right way, and that her mother gave permission. I'm like, what's the right way?
There is no right way.
Of course, the comment was made that the age of consent was 17 or 18, and she was 17 or 18 at that time. That's all well and good and fine, but come on,
grown man.
I mean, come on.
That's still a grown man. Yeah. He should have approached me with that.
In one of your kids.
I would have introduced him to the governor and the judge. He would have met both of my friends.
I've never been able to understand this fascination that some men have with young girls. I've never understood it. I'm gonna tell you this. This is a family member.
Mm-hmm.
He got a 16-year-old pregnant when he was 52.
What? Oh my goodness.
And they had the baby, and DCF was trying to catch him at the hospital. True story. And he ran out, and she would never tell that he was the child's father. And I asked him, and he told me because older women tend to be mouthy. So he wanted. I'm just telling you what he told me.
Hold on, man. What you got, brother Armando? Hey, what you got, brother Armando?
What I also understood was that the girl's family of the person that Karl Malone had did that with, they actually okayed it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is why I segued to
Kind of like Nia Long.
the Nia Long situation, because it was in the same vein.
Because he had went to her exactly. Yep. He went to the family and got the consent.
But listen, though, Doc, I had to pull you off of that because I heard some man and I heard some men on Radio Nation saying amen when you said that older women are mouth. I ain't want to get nobody in trouble, man. Let me stop you right there.
I didn't say that. Listen, I didn't say that.
I'm talking about other men. I just heard it in Radio Land. I heard some old man say amen, and his wife just walked in on the room on him.
We're not doing that this Black History Month. That's not what we're going to do.
Hey, but listen, though, Doc Lightblack, it's been a pleasure. Ms. Walker, you are welcome to sit in the seat anytime. It has been a pleasure having this conversation with you.
Me.
Let's Talk Nation. We appreciate you. And if Brother Love was here, he would say, you don't have to go home, and I will retort, but you got to get out of here. Until next time, we'll see you on Let's Talk Nation.